Ladies and gentlemen, the goose is loose. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to Monty's War Caravan. The caravan from which Montgomery planned the D-Day invasions and from which he led his forces throughout the invasion of Western Europe. And we have now exhausted the sum total of my historical knowledge, as you will find out in this going on series, because we're going to be doing Flames of War. My first step into the world of historical wargaming, something that I've been a little bit afraid of, a little bit opposed to for a long time. Always felt a little bit like glorifying unpleasant events of the past, but also you're very restricted in terms of making sure that the paint schemes are relevant to the appropriate time period. And I always felt quite restricted that my units had to be historically appropriate, and that's never how I've gamed. I've always enjoyed inventing my own Space Marine chapters, inventing my own Orc warbands, my own paint schemes, and so on. But about a year ago, I picked up, as a part of a Christmas present with some vouchers that I got, the Hit the Beach starter set, mainly because I wanted to have a go at doing something in 15mm instead of the 28mm that I've worked with throughout my entire hobby experience. I wanted something that looked a bit more epic and a bit more cinematic on the tabletop. I had a hankering for those old games of Epic 40k. So not going quite down to that scale, but rolling in at about 15mm, I built the Hit the Beach starter set. I played a couple of games against myself. I won them both, so that turned out to be very, very good. But I also lost them both. It's kind of 50-50. But I really enjoyed it. I really liked the rule set. I really like the models, and I love the cinematic nature of having only a few bases on the table for your infantry, but having lots and lots of infantry on the table. So it's simple to play, simple to move things, but it looks fantastic and cinematic. And it also excited me for other things I've never really done before, like terrain building, terrain painting. I've never been one for anything outside the models themselves. But I really like the idea for Flames of War of making a table of 15mm painted up terrain, and there's some great options for that, so we will explore those as we go on. So I really got the bug for Flames of War, but we were still sort of semi-lockdown, we weren't going anywhere. I didn't do a lot of gaming last year, I did almost no hobbying. So Martin and I, Martin of Midlander Gaming, who will be doing a sort of parallel channel to this and is already 4 videos ahead of me, so if you haven't checked out Martin's channel, go and have a look, because he's doing some fantastic things over there, and I'm glad to see he's bought a new box and completely changed the way he's going to do his army. I'm not doing that. I came up with a list in February after my birthday when I'd spent some more vouchers, and I decided I was going to do D-Day British. So late war, D-Day British, mainly because as somebody who has almost no historic knowledge, my background in World War II, my knowledge of World War II is based on the popular events, and obviously D-Day is the big one in terms of films, TV series and so on. So I like that aesthetic, I like the sort of the bocage, the French countryside, the invasions moving through villages and stuff. So that was where I decided to go. I built a list, and we'll talk about that list in another video. That will be the next video that we come up against. And that one is a list that I made, like I say, back in late Feb, early March of last year. And that list hasn't changed. It is the list I'll be running against Martin. I've got a slightly better idea of what he's running, but as I don't know Flames of War, and I've never played a game apart from against me, where I probably got most of the rules wrong, I don't really care. I think we're just going to throw some models on the table. Hopefully they'll be painted and it will look fantastic. So sort of October time last year, Martin and I were chatting, and we'd planned a meet up to play some Flames of War, and we never got around to it, largely on my end. So we decided we would set a date in the calendar to have a game this year, and we would both start up channels to cover it, and that would keep us honest, it would show some progress, and it would put us in a position to actually schedule and have the game, to be announced. We are discussing dates. I need to look at my diary, that's on me. But once we've got that in, hopefully to make sure that when we get that game in, we've got a beautiful looking table of fully painted miniatures on both sides, and we can have a lovely cinematic looking battle. And that will be sort of the start, certainly for me, of my Flames of War journey, to have one painted army, and then to move on from there and either expand that army, move into some other theatres. I quite fancy doing some desert mid-war stuff as well, but one challenge at a time. We know how I get sidetracked. So Martin has laid down the gauntlet, and if you go and look at his channel with the 4 videos he's already got, being way ahead of me. Some of the stuff he's doing is fantastic. The terrain he's already put together and painted. I have some of that MDF terrain, but it's currently sitting on a wooden sprue. It's not done anything yet. Martin's is already looking fantastic. So the table we're going to play on is already shaping up. And his forces are shaping up. He's made some new choices and he's got some new challenges ahead of him in terms of putting his Germans together. So I'm really looking forward to this year. I am going to try and keep a regular diary of what I've done. And we're going to keep a progress on the force up to the big day, which will be Martin and I doing a joint filming of a battle report of fully painted, hopefully, Flames of War. So hopefully you stick with us for that. I suspect the only person to watch this will be Martin, so I'll try not to drop too many secrets and spoilers, but I will be putting my list up in the next video. My next challenge is to get paint on models, and I have been doing that. I have one base here. This is my first infantry base. You won't be able to see it, and I'm glad about that because it is nowhere near finished. But there is paint on tiny, tiny, tiny men. And I sort of thought 15mm would be great because I could dab some paint in relevant places, even though they're very small and the relevant places are sort of hard to mark out. Whack a wash over them, put a nice base on them, and they would look great from tabletop distance. Because tabletop distance 15mm is very, very small. I found that I still have my typical issues around wanting everything to be perfect and spotting tiny little flaws and mistakes, and I'm trying to get over that because I think when I finish this first base I'll be happy with it. It's taking me a little bit of time, but I'm also messing around with different paint schemes. I'm trying different things out so that I can try and get to a very quick, easy paint scheme that will make them look good enough for tabletop quality. So my challenge before the next video is to complete this. I will get this one base of infantry done and hopefully start a few others, but I want to get this base done. So in the next video we will go through the army list, what I'll be taking and why. And very much like Martin, it's rule of cool. I've picked the models I think look awesome. I've picked some tanks that I really like the look of, or that I built a few of and then really like the kit, so bought a few more of. And I'll be looking at the first part of the infantry paint scheme. And then the challenge will be to set down a date and to work out how I'm going to get everything done in time, because there's quite a lot of infantry in my list to paint, but that's the reason I chose Flames of War. I love the ranks and ranks of tiny infantry. So my army is completely built with the exception of one platoon, which I've been waiting on order for a very long time, but has arrived, and that is an airborne mortar platoon. So I have them in box. They are still on sprue, but they're the last thing to build. Everything else in my army is both built and primed, so ready to get paint slapping on. So we should make some pretty good progress here. Hopefully you'll stick with it, and you'll see us throughout the year, and you'll continue to enjoy vast historic mistakes following into vast gaming mistakes as we take our first stumbling steps into the world of Flames of War. See you guys on the next one. Goose out.